Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
On behalf of Whitetail Rendezvous, this is your host, Bruce Hutchin, and I want to say thank you to everybody for making 2016 a banner year. Why? Because we went over 100,000 iTunes downloads. Why? Because we had over 300 guests on the show. And talking about the show, sometimes my guests are in a tree stand, sitting in a pickup truck on the top of a hill, or just don't have great bandwidth to pick up the recording. So I apologize for that. We're doing the best we can, but this is a real show with real people in real places.
This is Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast, episode number 313.
Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, and we're heading down to Willis, Texas, and we're going to visit with Mitchell Ray. Now, Mitchell Ray loves to hunt whitetails, loves to rattle whitetails, and he does that at BigWoods on the Trinity down there in East Texas. And he also developed a support system for your rifle. He calls it Stratus Support Systems. He was out with some veterans and some warriors, and they were just having a hard time keeping them sling on their shoulder. So he developed a system that would alleviate that. Now he's made it into a company. Hey, listeners, don't forget to text 33444 Food Plot for your free Food Plot ebook. Hey, everybody out there. Merry Christmas. It is Thursday, December 23rd. So you'll hear this after Christmas, but Merry Christmas anyway. And we're going to head down to Stillwater, Willis, Texas, pardon me. And we're going to connect with a man that's got a great new product. It's called Stratus Support Systems. And folks, welcome Mitchell Ray to the show.
Yeah, hi, Bruce. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I'm interested to hear about your support system, but I kind of wanted, it's Christmas time, and I wanted to talk about your hunting tradition, and in the warm-up you talked about your dad, so let's just start off the show with, what all that means to you.
Oh, yeah, that's probably one of the most important things about hunting that I enjoy, are the traditions. And when you can mix up family traditions in that also, it just gives you that feeling that we all strive to get during Christmas time. It's a feeling of unity with your family. And, my dad, he's just turned 90 years old, like I told you. And he took me hunting, duck hunting, deer hunting, squirrel hunting, when I was a kid, many, many times. And just what a great tradition that was for him to give to me, and maybe I can pass that along to my children or my friends. It's just a nice thing to have that.
Let's talk about specifically in the hunting world. What lessons did your dad transfer to you?
Your dad, he taught me a lot of things in the woods. I think what he taught me, Bruce, was just how to enjoy the woods. We're going out there to hunt. We'd like to shoot something, if possible, but we're out there to enjoy, what we're doing. And I can remember walking down a logging road with him along the creek bottom, and I was walking in front of him, and we were kind of stalking. I didn't know it at the time, but we were just kind of creeping up that little lane there, and I heard Dad whisper behind me, "Son, get down." And I'm like, "Well, what are you talking about?" And there was a nice buck, I remember it very well, running across the road, and I was just in my own little, la-la land as a kid, and when Dad pointed out that buck to me, at that moment, I realized that, hey, I'm not out here playing, I'm out here hunting, and that was kind of a neat experience, and I started morphing into a hunter at that point.
Yeah, I think as kids, we're just, we've got a gun, we're going, we're out there, and all of a sudden we see our first game, and yeah, it's pretty exciting, and then you realize, Oh, okay. Did you harvest that buck? Were you able to harvest that buck?
I don't think we got a shot at that buck because I was in front of Dad, and he couldn't get a shot off. But again, that takes me back to that patience that somebody like him has with a young hunter. And even though he missed a shot at a good buck or didn't get an opportunity to get a shot on him, we still got a very positive experience out of it, and that just sticks in my mind.
Yeah, in the warm-up, we talked about, paying it forward, getting other people involved in the outdoors. How are you doing that today?
Well, the one way that I give back to folks is I typically try to take a wounded warrior hunter on an all-inclusive deer hunt every year. That's kind of the way that I give back to those guys and gals that have served our country. And if I can take them hunting and let them get that peace that I get when I'm in the woods and share that with them, then I enjoy that, and they enjoy it also. So we typically take them to a little ranch in East Texas called the BigWoods on the Trinity, and it's a wonderful facility, and we have a great time up there.
Well, in the warm-up, you were talking about river bottoms, and BigWoods and the Trinity is pretty special to you. So let's give the folks the background on it, who owns it, and why you think why it is so special in your life.
Oh, that place, for me, it's the place that I can go to, Bruce, and we all get busy in our regular jobs and, with other things and family. But I'm blessed to be able to get out in that area, which is where I grew up in East Texas, basically. And once I get on that place, I just get a release, a stress release, and I'm able not to think about the problems that we deal with every day. And it's just a special place where I can go and enjoy. And I just love getting in the deer woods, and that's one of the best places I found to do it, right there.
No, I know Hereford, Texas, and obviously Emerald. Now, are you north of the interstate there, or you're south, or kind of what part of East Texas are you in? Oh, that's west. I was thinking of West Texas. Pardon me. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're typically our hunting area is typically about an hour south of Tyler, and right outside of Palestine, Texas. And Palestine is right on the Trinity River. And Dr. McFarland's got 7,500 acres of pristine river bottom land, and it's so much fun to get out there and hunt that. I like to go out there and rattle for bucks, is what my forte, I guess, is. I like getting in the woods, and I like to walk, and I like to communicate with deer. I like to have them come and seek me out, and the buck-doe ratio on that ranch is just perfect. It's typically 1-to-1, so you get a very good response when you start clicking some horns together. And, it's not unheard of to, call in 8 or 10 bucks in the morning. And it's just so much fun. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Now, this is a private lease. Obviously, you said, your friend owns it and such. So the only way to get on that, it isn't a lease that people just can go and pay to hunt. Is that correct?
Correct. They typically offer packages, and you can get online at, I think it's bigwoods.net, and see the different packages that they have. And they've got duck hunting. Hog hunting is very big on this ranch. And then, of course, deer hunting and duck hunting. It's just a wonderful place to go to escape.
Okay, so I was incorrect. So it is a place that if you want to book a hunt there, you can.
Yes, it's not a lease, so to speak, but they do sell hunting packages. Yes, sir.
Okay, and while we're talking about that, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, Mitchell, how would they do that?
Well, the best way to get in touch with me is through the website for my product, and that would be stratussupportsystems.com.
And are you in Facebook or social media at all?
Yeah, yes, sir, I am. We do have a Facebook page, Stratus Support Systems, and you can get on there along with the YouTube page and see this product that I'm really excited about because it actually works. It's a very simple product, and it does what it says it will do, and it makes your hunt more enjoyable because it reduces the fatigue that you normally encounter while you're in the field, either bird hunting or, deer hunting. It makes a big difference at the end of the day.
Now, why did you come up with this product?
Well, like I said, when I get out in the deer woods, I do a lot of walking. And when I figured out that, this was a universal product, I started playing with it. And my buddies wanted me to make them one, and they just kept encouraging me. Had a lot of encouragement from friends that hunt. A couple of guys at the BigWoods motivated me, and we worked together on designing things. And it's a product that I like to share with other hunters because I think of it as a tool. And as a hunter, I don't want, something with me that, I can't use. I need something that works. And this product does that.
Now, you mentioned in the warm-up that you were at a Wounded Warrior type of event, the skeet shoot. And
right.
You noticed several of the veterans there were having issues with the sling sliding off, and they just couldn't make it work. Is that kind of the genesis of the product?
Yeah, actually, that was the weekend after that I was walking through the woods and realized that, there was a problem there. Well, the next weekend I went to a skeet shoot, and several of the warriors were having trouble keeping the sling on. And so that weekend I went and got in the garage and got a piece of 4-inch PVC pipe and cut it down the middle and kind of made a C out of it, which turned into be my belt unit. And I got an old cell phone holder and some neoprene and some Velcro, and that's how I got motivated. I just got in the garage and did that, and we've morphed it into where it is now.
Are you a tinkerer by life?
No, I don't think so, man. I'm not really a tinkerer, but my passion for the outdoors and my passion to help people and make them enjoy the hunt, I think is one of the things that motivated me to keep working on this project. I've been working on it for 3 years, and we finally got it in. We've had it out for about 4 months, and just getting a really good response. And for me, when people look at it and they see how it works and they get it, that's a reward in itself right there because they get it.
Yeah, I'm just visualizing. I used to hunt before I blew out my shoulder with my compound, and I just have a heck of a time, especially when I'm on a horse or I'm on a stand calling an elk or whatever, and so there's a couple of what the bow holsters they called it,
right?
And I'm thinking the advantage, especially if you got a bull coming in or you're on a even whitetail or whatever, it's just nice to have that security because you can relax a little bit. You're not tense and everything.
That's another great point, Bruce. Is that when you anchor this gun on the center of your back, where if you're wearing that belt unit on the center of your back, what that does is that keeps that weapon safe and secure. It gives it a secondary anchor point, and it keeps that gun muzzle pointed up for our younger hunters. I think it's a safety issue. It keeps that gun secure on the hip, keeps that gun pointed up, and it makes that gun carry more securely in the field if you're having to do a lot of walking too.
Now, if someone wants to see a video, are you up on YouTube?
Yes, sir. We're on YouTube, and probably the best place to go to see how it works is just go to the Stratus support page, and
okay,
that's StratusSupportSystems.com.
Okay, yeah. I just talked over you. I'm sorry. So give us the URL again.
It's www.StratusSupportSystems.com, and they'll have several videos on there, Bruce. And also, if you want to order one, they're less than $25. They're very affordable, and they work.
So let's go back to the BigWoods Trinity, because it sounds like you kind of got a love affair with that place. Let's talk about rattling deer. And I've had some hellacious mornings in Wisconsin that I used to say, oh yeah, I called in this many bucks in one morning. People just look at me cross-eyed, no way. And if I had filmed, I could prove it. So I'll just leave it at that. One morning it was just perfect, and
yes,
and I did it right. For one time, everything was right. The bucks were looking at it. So let's dissect that. And even though we're in East Texas, rattling works any place. When you have a buck to doe ratio like you do on that ranch, it sure heck helps. But saying that, let's just break that down and talk about your sequences and talk about your communicating with the deer.
My favorite way to do it is I call it a speed rattling the ranch has got so much game on it that if I don't get a response within 15 minutes, I pack up and then I walk to my next spot that I'm choosing. And that's how well they respond there for that. But typically, I'll just settle into a nice spot, make sure my wind's right where I anticipate the deer coming from, and I'll typically have a grunt call, and a lot of times I can do a mouth call for a doe bleed or something like that. And I'll start on the horns pretty soft because some of the areas out there are just river bottom thickets. So you never know where that buck is if you're quiet and slip in, so I just tinkle them a little bit. And I was able to get a really nice 8-point a few years ago. I'd set up on this corner and was real quiet and just started barely tinkling those horns. And Bruce, there was a deer that was bedded down in a thicket right behind me. And he was so close to me that I heard him get up and he had to leap through the brush to come out into the road to take a look what was going on. And when he did, I'd already had my gun off of safety and had my power turned down. And he stepped out into that brush, and it was just the sun was coming up right behind him. It was absolutely gorgeous, and I was just looking at how beautiful that animal was and kind of got lost there like I like to do. And I said, man, I better shoot this deer. This is a good one. And he turned out to be a real nice 8-point. But, that's the way I like to do it.
Now, you said a lot right there. One, you were really close proximity. How did you get that close to that deer without him busting?
Well, it was kind of a wet morning with no wind, and I just slipped in nice and quiet, taking my time, and I'd already done a couple of sets that morning and was just kind of working my way down this logging road, and I just slipped in, just tried to be quiet, tried to enjoy it. And, man, as soon as I put those horns together, you could hear him actually get up off the bed and start running out into the middle of that road to see what's going on.
Was he 30 yards, 50 yards, 10 yards?
Yeah, he was right on top of me. And good thing I had my power down because I knew I was close to him because I could hear him leaping through the brush. So I rolled my power down and got out my gun where I thought he was going to step out, and he stepped out right where I thought he was, and he was probably 10, 12 yards away from me.
Oh, my goodness. You were right on top of that sucker.
Yeah, that's the thing I like about rattling is sometimes, those deer, they respond different ways, just depending on the mood that they're in. Sometimes they'll get right on top of you like that. They'll come busting in, and, it'll scare you. That deer scared me because I didn't know where he was coming out at. But, that's part of the excitement that you get when you start communicating with those deer. So it's a lot of fun.
Now, in that specific sequence, you were just, moving your wrist and just, I call it ticking, and you'd call
yes, sir.
And I just, really soft. And people wonder, well, how can a deer hear that? And, talk to me about that.
On a good quiet morning with no wind, you would be surprised how deer hear excellent. That's probably their second best sense besides their nose. They hear so well. So when that deer's right on top of you and it's a cool morning with no wind, you can hear birds chirping 50 yards in the woods if you listen. So that deer is going to get better hearing than us, and he's going to hear any little noise you make. And that's why it's so important to slip in and be quiet and just let things kind of calm down, kind of get a sense for what's going on around you. And then you can I usually start out ticking pretty light because, say, if that deer were as close as he was to me, if I would hit those horns together, hard like it was a full-blown fight, it probably would have blown that deer out.
Now, how long does your sequence last?
I don't like to rattle for a long period of time. I'll typically start out pretty light and then just sit in case I've got one real close. And then if nothing responds, then I'll get into the sequence pretty good. Typically about an hour, or not an hour, but a minute. I'll rattle for a good minute, and then I'll just set the horns down and give it some time. And if nothing responds, then I'll typically come back in and tickle them again in case there's a buck that's kind of hung up on the edge and he's not real sure. If you tickle those horns just a little bit, it gives him that confidence that, hey, there's still something here I need to check out. And a lot of times they'll come on out where you can get them.
Now, do you use any voice calls or bleats or snort wheeze or grunt tubes?
Yeah, I'll use those on occasion. Deer typically are not a very vocal animal, but it can give them that sense of confidence that they need when they're hung up. So I don't typically call at them a lot, but a doe bleat is a very easy mouth call to do, and a buck growl or a buck grunt is something I can't do with my voice, so I typically use a call on that, and I sometimes I'll work that into my calling sequence, and it pays results. Just like you were saying earlier, it just depends on what the deer want to do, and if you're in that magical time that the deer are responding, sometimes you just can't do anything wrong. They're coming, and that's fun.
Now, hunting in East Texas, there's are you hunting the rut? Are you hunting if you are hunting the rut, what phase of the rut are you rattling and having the best response?
Yeah, typically I like to hunt during the pre-rut. The bucks are not as worn down from running does, and they respond well. The bucks are in good shape. They haven't lost any body weight. So typically I like to hunt the pre-rut. And our rut around here basically kicks off around the first weekend in November. So, a week or two this side or that or the back side of it is typically a pretty good time to respond to those, get out there and respond with those bucks.
Now, when you move, you have it set up and nothing happens. How far do you travel before you set up again and begin your rattling sequence?
I typically will walk as far as I think that the sound carried, whether that be 100 yards or a little bit further than that. And I don't really have a game plan. I just kind of go with what I'm feeling and, paying attention to. And if I come to a good trail, I'll back off that trail a little bit and sit down and, just relax for a few minutes, let things calm down. And then you might start, whacking your horns. And the next thing you know, you've got a doe sticking her head out behind a tree looking at you. And, it's just a lot of fun because at that time they're kind of hunting you. And that's kind of a different spin on hunting, but it's enjoyable.
Now, how do you choose your setup? As you walk in, you got foliage in front of you, behind you. Tell me about your setup.
Typically, I'll walk in and I'll get behind some brush. A lot of times I'll have like a little limb cutter or a little saw, and if I can get by with maybe cutting a branch off and just staking it down in front of me, give me that little breakup that I need. A lot of times I'll just get on my knees, and sometimes I'll have a shooting stick, and if I set that brush up in front of me to break me up a little bit, I'll go ahead and do a rattling call right there. I don't really try to hide that much unless it wants to hide. The deer respond so well out here that, once they stick their head out, right away if he's going to be a shooter buck or, you're going to let him grow or, whatever. So I just kind of go with what the nature dictates.
How about camel patterns?
I like, there's a mossy oak pattern. I think it's called a country. That seems to work really well out there. And I do believe in camo, and I typically camo all the way up, including a face mask. When deer see a human face, they recognize that as problems. And so you've got to cover up your face, and that'll buy you a little more time when these deer come in and they pick you off before you see them. It'll buy you a little extra time.
So how about boots? Do you just wear moccasin style or rubber boots, or tell me about your foot gear?
Well, with being in the river bottom like that, you need a good pair of boots. You're getting a lot of mud, you're tracking, you're walking a lot. So for me, the moccasins don't work very well. The boot that I typically carry is about a mid-cut Danner, and I had these pair of Danner boots for, I guess, going on 10 years, Bruce, and I just love them. I oil them up every year. It's kind of like a sharp pocket knife. A good pair of boots is one of those things that you depend on when you're in the field.
No, are they Gore-Tex lined?
No, they're not. They're just simply leather. And like I said, I'll just put Minkle on them, and they typically repels that water pretty well. When that river gets out, you may be walking in, 3 or 4 inches of water that you have to go around, or you may be on dry land. But those Danners, they hold up good.
And tell me about, we're river bottom. Tell me, are they frosty mornings? Is your weather hot? Or tell me about the weather conditions.
Well, a lot of times during the rut, the cool fronts have not come in. And so a lot of times you're swatting mosquitoes. And in the river bottom, that can be a real problem. So what I've learned is you can carry that mosquito, I forgot what they're called, Bruce, but they use a little propane and a pad on them. And, man, they work really, really well on those big river bottom mosquitoes. I can't remember what that product was called, but Thermacell is what they're called. Have you ever heard of those?
Yes, sir, I have. Never used them.
They're magic. They're absolutely magic. You can turn them on, and it runs all the mosquitoes away. And I've sat there, and just cut it off. And once you cut it off, 10 minutes later, they're back on you. Cut it back on, they're gone. So I know it works. It's an amazing product.
That's good. And let's talk about spinning it up a little different. Do you hunt hogs or are the game?
Yes. That river bottom ranch has got so many wild hogs. Anytime you're sitting there, you've got the high chance that a pack of hogs is going to run in front of you, and that's exciting too. Hogs have always been I considered it an extra bonus to hunting, kind of a freebie. But, because we're all out there trying to shoot a big buck, but when a 100-pound hog comes by and you can get a good shot on him, that's pretty good table fare, actually.
Now, are you hunting with rifles, crossbow, compound? What kind of weapon are you using?
Right now, I'm having so much fun with a rifle that I haven't picked up anything else. And I think I'll eventually get to a little more challenging type of weapon, such as a crossbow or a bow. But right now, I'm just enjoying rifle hunting so much. I'm shooting a Tikka 270. And 270 calibers, a classic Texas caliber, and I'm in tune with it. I feel comfortable with that gun. In fact, that picture of the buck that I sent you, that big buck in the field, I shot him at 365 yards, and I couldn't believe I made that shot, by the way. But the luckiest shot I've ever made, and that buck scored 160 inches.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous buck. And what kind of field was he on?
Well, it was a food plot, and an interesting story on that was another hunter on the ranch had seen a giant buck that day or the day before and taken a shot, but didn't hit him. And we looked and looked, but that morning when a doe came out, there was a little buck trailing her, and they were like 500 yards away. I mean, way, way far from me. And when I saw that big buck come out, I had my rattle horns with me, and I just hit those horns together pretty hard so I could get out there to him. And he turned and looked at me, and he was big. And I knew immediately this was a shooter buck, and he was limping. And I said, that's the buck that this other guy took a shot at yesterday. So I know he's big. So I grabbed my shooting sticks, Bruce, out of that little blind I was in, and I ran towards those deer, trying to keep some brush and cover between us. And I cut down probably, 80 to 100 yards, and I stepped out from behind the tree and dropped my sticks, and every deer in the pasture's just looking at me, And I looked over my scope. I said, man, that deer is still 400 yards away. So I guesstimated the drop on it and took a shot, and all the deer disappeared and ran off but him. And I'm like, well, where did he go? I was anticipating to miss him, actually. So I picked up and walked in and found him laying right where he was. It hit him just perfect. Luckiest shot I've ever made.
Oh, I don't know about luck. When you're, extending your range, let's just put it that way, you pulled it together very well. Mitchell, we're at the time of the show now. You give a shout out to whomever, and then we'll wrap the show.
Okay. Well, of course, I'll pay dibs to my dad for being a role model like he's always been his whole life. And, I've had a lot of friends that have helped me develop this product. Heath Burney, and he's been a guide at the BigWoods for many, many years. He's helped me a lot with this project, and I appreciated his encouragement. And then I have some friends that have helped me along with the project, too. That have supported me, and friends and family, and that's what makes it special.
Well, on behalf of Whitetail Rendezvous, Merry Christmas to you and your family, and thank you for being such a great, gracious guest on Whitetail Rendezvous, and wishing you all the well, and hope one of these days I can be rattling bucks with you down in the Big Woods Trinity. That'd be fun.
Sounds good.
Hey, folks, on this show, we're going to talk to Chuck Pister. Now, Chuck has lived down in Florida for 21 years, and he's moved up north to Wisconsin to take a new job. And along the way, he's starting Feather, Fin, and Fur Outdoors is going to be produced on Gen 7. Stay tuned for a great show.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.